Hello, ladies and gentlemen, for a brand new episode of Pro Wrestling Culture. Here with you, the Professor Matteo Pagliarella and Milton Francesco Pozzi.
It's nice to be here today. I'm a little nervous because this is probably the most prestigious interview in my short career as an interviewer. We have a very special guest today, and I can't wait to start, for real. Just can't wait to start.
And of course, here with us, the one of the most iconic British wrestler, Mr. Doug Williams. Hello, Mr. Doug Williams.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Uh, I'm
Cool,
fine, I'm
cool.
fine.
A little bit nervous actually because you're Doug fucking Williams. That's what you are.
Sorry, I'm in another country, so you're safe.
Okay, Francesco, if you want to start with
Yeah,
questions.
yes, actually, I only have two simple questions to ask you.
Mm.
The first one it refers to a simple word actually. That's uprising.
Okay.
Uprising is a word that came up both in 2002 with FWA with British
Hmm.
Uprising and both in 2013 Revolution Pro Wrestling Uprising. You were involved in both of those events. The first one
Okay.
against Jerry Lynn, which is my favorite match of yours, to be honest.
Hmm.
And the other one, you lost to Shah Samuels. But the thing is, you were a part of both. So you were a part of the beginning and of the renaissance of British professional wrestling. What
Sure.
was like to be a part of both historically?
Well, I'll start with the 2002 one, FWA uprising. I think obviously that was a very exciting time for everybody involved because it kind of created a new generation of British wrestling. And the idea of also bringing in stars from America and working with the British guys was quite a new thing in terms of um, that period of time. And obviously Joey Lynn, I knew him from ECW. I'd watched him many times, so it was very
Mhm.
exciting to work with him. And yeah, it was a great match. I really enjoyed myself as well. Um, and again, that's right. You skip forward 10 years to 2013, and I just come back from America, so I didn't really aware of how the British scene had grown so much. So it was really surprising and pleasant for me to see that British wrestling was on the up again, and that the crowds were back, and there was some really great talent involved. Shah Samuels being one of them, but there was a whole lot of talent that developed in that 10 years that were new and fresh, and it just brought a new kind of spark and new excitement to the business. So it was great to see that as well. I was surprised, because like I said I've been in America for 4 years. I came back, and to see the scene as it was a very pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, the most surprising thing for me was watching that product for the first time because as an Italian wrestling fan, I I, I already saw your name because if I can remember correctly, you faced Caio for Italian Championship Wrestling. It
Right?
was like 2005 maybe, if I can
Okay.
remember.
I can't remember. Yeah,
And
you tell me. I can't.
and I thought that British wrestling was most of all like a fairy show, the carnival show, something like that, like not for hardcore fans, but
Mhm.
for fans that just came there, watched the match, and then came back and watching WWE. I was really stuck when I saw like Zack Saber Jr., Marty Skrull,
Mm.
and all that guys. They were fucking awesome, and you were a part of both of those nights. So
Yeah,
it's mind blowing, in my opinion.
yeah.
And
I just think, well, the culture of wrestling in this country lends itself to people becoming very good in quite a short period of time, because we have hundreds and hundreds of shows up and down the country every week. So people learn and develop and grow very quickly. Of course, you've got to have the talent to start with as well, but in the UK, luckily for us, it's ingrained in the culture, professional wrestling. So that's why so many great guys come out of this country, and we're lucky in that,
that's
compared to a lot of other European countries, unfortunately. But you know, it's good that everybody gets a chance to see him now as well. You know,
Yeah. It,
yeah,
it, it was really awesome. I can remember the hype at the time, like it was 2013, 2014. It
mm,
was like the hype was above the stars.
yeah,
But the next question I want to ask you tells
mm,
about the American period that you were referring to before. And I recently saw a match of yours in TNA that brought me this question in my mind. And that was the match in which you won the TNA Television Championship from AJ Styles
okay,
at
yeah,
Final Resolution, if I can remember correctly.
yeah,
And my question is that period of time, so Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, let's say, in charge of the
mm,
action, and they were proposing a product that was pretty much everything but professional wrestling,
sure,
aside from very rare exceptions.
mm,
They made the Nasty Boys relevant again.
mm,
They gave the titles to the club, to the Outsiders, Hall and Nash.
yeah,
But you and AJ actually fought a professional wrestling match,
yeah.
a pure professional wrestling match. So I was curious to hear from you what was like to do that in that environment.
Uh, I mean, I guess it was unusual. I didn't really, um, from my point of view, because I just come off the X Division run for the majority of that year, which really was kind of the last um, stories that Vince Russo had put in place. And that point of time where I lost the X Division title, then became a contender for AJ's TV title match by having the feud with Fortune, um, was really around that time that Vince was finally pushed out, and whoever, Hogan or Bischoff, I don't know, it was them or someone else took over the writing. Um, and what happened is really that led to me being a transitional champion for Abyss getting the TV title.
Mm.
Um, so I wasn't aware of that at the time. I just knew I had this opportunity against AJ, and I had to make the most of it. And we just had to go out there and have a fantastic match.
Mhm.
Um, as I said, it's just I was a funny thing to say, but I was a Vince Russo guy. I was, and
That's very rare to hear.
Mhm.
yeah, once he was pushed out, then the writing was on the wall for me. Unfortunately, I think looking back on it, that's how it seems anyway. I was a Jeff Jarrett guy. I was a Terry Taylor guy. I was a Vince Russo guy. All those guys left, and then I had that last great match with AJ, and then they just took the title off me in the next pay per view. So yeah, I don't think I'm
That's fair.
what a wrestler. Like guys want certain guys. See wrestlers as larger than life cartoon characters with huge personalities, not necessarily great pure wrestlers. So I probably didn't fit their mold as to what a main event style wrestler should be. And that's fine.
Mhm.
That's their opinion. They're in charge, but it's a shame, really.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a shame because I can remember the first time of TNA. Like they had some really bad professional wrestling sometimes,
Mm.
but when they did professional wrestling, they did great. The X
Yeah,
Division and even probably the Raven NWA World Title reign, and even Abyss. I'm a really huge mark for Abyss. He's a really cool guy outside of the ring,
mm.
and in the ring is probably one of the most influential big men in history.
Sure.
So they did a really good job, and it's sad to hear that you were supposed to be a transitional champion at this point. It's
Yeah,
pretty sad.
yeah. Well, I don't know if that was always the plan, but it was the plan by the time I won the title. I don't know what the original end result of me feuding with Fortune and winning the title was going to be had Vince stayed as head writer, but it
All
was
right.
pay per view that all I was transition onto Abyss. So which is, hey, I'm a professional. I'll do my job. If that's what they want me to do, that's fine.
That's good. That's the good
Mhm.
way. And Matteo, if you want to ask some question right now, I'll
Okay,
listen.
okay. Okay, thank you, Francesco. Mr. Williams, 1 years ago, you wrestled in the final of the NWA Karate Cup with the Briscoes brothers.
Yes.
Do you have memories of Jay that you could share to us?
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of memories with Jay. I mean, Jay was my first match in Ring of Honor. I wrestled against him in 2002, and he was only a young guy. He was only 18 years old at the time. They asked him to put me over strong, which of course he did, and that was only a 6-minute match, but it made me a viable contender in the eyes of the Ring of Honor fans. So I'm grateful to him for that. Another fun story I always tell is that him and his brother, they were on tour with me in Japan. And it was the last night of the tour, we were at the hotel, and we all played. We decided to have a game of poker. So it was 3 of us, and they let me win the first few games, so I won a bit of money off of them. But then they just basically blew me away and took all my money the next few hands. And they made out like they didn't know what they were doing. But I couldn't be mad with them. Between the 2 of them, they just fleeced me, took all my money playing poker. So that was quite fun. And obviously, yeah, I mean, when I saw both of them, when I saw him at Crockett Cup, it must have been 6, 7, 8 years since I last saw them, and it was like I'd only saw him yesterday. We just sat down and put together a fantastic match, and it was just great fun. Always great fun wrestling him and his brother, and it's tragic, really tragic.
Yeah,
and it's for me. I'm grateful that I had one great last match with him only a year ago. Because otherwise I'd have not seen him for, like I say, 7, 8 years, which in itself is a tragedy.
It was a lucky circumstance, actually.
Suddenly, you see him again every week.
yeah,
Things like that.
It's pretty sad. I haven't realized it yet. It's so fucking tragic.
Right.
I can really.
It's like it's not real, isn't it? It feels like
it's not real.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Japan because you wrestled a lot of years in Japan. And do you like that kind of audience? The I don't know, less cheering or more respect. Do you like this kind of audience?
I mean, my original goal always when I started professional wrestling seriously was to go to Japan anyway, because for me and my style, I thought that was more appropriate, and that kind of audience that respected the sport of wrestling as opposed to, liking the baby faces and booing the heels. It was more, it's more a sporting contest. And I have to say that now, thinking about it, it's more fun doing, stuff in front of people that trying to get real emotion out of people. So rather than Japan, where they just respect the moves you do and they respect you as a fighter, that's very good, and it works within their environment. But for my personal taste, just for having fun, I just like going out there and making people boo me or cheer me. I really enjoy that now. Maybe my tastes have changed over the years. I don't know.
Okay. I have another question about this kind of wrestling that we are living now. In your opinion, in which moment we are living now for the European wrestling?
We're in a real rebuilding process at the moment, I think.
Okay.
That kind of destroyed the base of wrestling in Europe, and now rebuilding everything. We're rebuilding. There's new wrestlers coming through, young guys that hadn't really got the exposure before. Promotions are slowly starting to run more and more shows, so we're bringing ourselves back up to maybe how it was in 2015, 2016. So at the moment, it's definitely a rebuilding process. It's good to see that there's a lot of wrestlers that stuck with it, kept training through lockdown, and now they're reaping the benefits of being able to perform on shows in front of people, and that's a good thing. A lot of people, because a lot of wrestlers did quit, a lot of guys gave up, but there's been plenty to come along and fill the spaces, and they're equally as talented, if not better in some cases.
And did you see any rising star that could represent the next generation of wrestlers?
I mean, I've seen a few. I'm very high on a guy from Belgium called Mike DeVecchio. He's fantastic. War Machine. There's Crowchester. He's a Russian guy based in Germany. He's fantastic as well. There's a myriad of English guys. I don't want to mention anyone in particular because other people will get offended if I miss them out.
You worked with Max Peach in Italy.
Sorry?
Actually,
You worked with Max Peach in Italy.
And Max Peach, of course, yeah, he's another exciting prospect. And I'm excited to see also at NWG what the wrestlers there,
Yeah, on March.
new stars
Yeah.
coming through from there. So no, it's an interesting time for the European wrestling scene as a whole. But I think it's on the up again. It's good.
Okay.
actually, about this topic, sorry to interrupt you. I had not a question, but I wanted to just like tell that I was one of the first in Italy, just wanting the promotions to book more European guys, not just fairy guys to tell them like that, but actually professional wrestlers who were very famous between hardcore fans like us. And you were one of them, but we saw Zack Sabre Jr., Jimmy Havoc, Zach Gibson, who's in WWE right now, as Rick Fowler. It was pretty exciting, as I told you before. So, and it wasn't a very popular thing here in Italy because we used to book like former WWE guys such as Carlito, Rey Mysterio, probably even Ultimo Dragon, if I can remember. But there wasn't this, thing of booking actual independent wrestling performers. It was pretty awesome to see that change. So that's good. As you told, it's a very interesting moment for European wrestling and even for Italian wrestling.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how your scene was before lockdown, but I'm assuming this is again rebuilding for you guys as well in Italy. Is it
Yes,
not?
we had even some people who debuted and started like getting relevant. One of them being Sebastian DeWitt.
Okay.
Then we had Max Peach, who finally had his chance to shine both in Italy and out of here. He won like a cup in WXW probably.
Yeah.
So it
Recently, in the last 2 months. Yeah.
yes, it's really cool.
Good.
And that was it.
Francesco, I don't know if you have other question that you want to ask.
Actually, there was another question that I want to
Okay.
ask you, based on what Kevin Steen once said. Since you faced it's a pretty stupid question, maybe, but is it real that AJ Styles is a technical freak in the ring? Like he told about a Styles clash that he did to him from the apron to the outside. And it defined him a freak. Like he told that in an interview with RF Video.
Yeah, I think the thing with AJ is it's sickening how easily he does everything. He moves so effortlessly and with such grace, and anything you can ask him to do, he'll do it without even having to practice or try. That's always the thing I found with AJ. And yeah, he's unique in that respect. I don't think and I'm talking about the whole range of wrestling styles. He can fly, he can work on the mat, striking, everything. He's just so effortless for him. I'm quite jealous, really. I wish I was like that.
And there's actually another question, but this regards Ring of Honor. Not many people know, but Ring of Honor is very popular between hardcore fans and not so much of them. It's probably the most famous independent wrestling federation ever, let's say.
Yeah.
It's the name that pops up every time we talked at least about independence. But not many people know you were in the match that to crown the first Ring of Honor World Champion.
Sure.
And can you tell about that evening? I'm really curious to know from something who was there.
Well, as you know, it was a 60-minute Ironman match, and it was in July in Philadelphia, so it was incredibly hot in the building, in the arena, and they laid out buckets and buckets of water bottles at ringside for us to drink from for the duration of the match because we knew it was going to be hard. but they put these two giant fans in the building to blow air around to try and cool the building down. But all it did was blow the hot air around the building. So when you were in the
Hmm.
ring, it felt like there was hot heaters blowing on you from these huge
Yeah.
fans, electric fans they had in the ring. But I mean, I remember that when we put the match together, my purpose was to basically wrestle the first 20 minutes doing mat work with all the guys. And if you watch it,
Hmm.
you'll see I'm pretty much in there constantly for the first 20 minutes. And then we split up the remaining time between us all as we go into into the near falls and into the fast stuff towards the end. So if you watch it back, you'll see um, I do 20 minutes of kind of mat wrestling and bits and pieces of
Hmm.
stuff, and we kind of spread it out a bit. Um, yeah, I mean, apart from the heat and the fact I lost about 5 kilos in weight just from sweating and
That's
dehydration.
so
Um,
much.
yeah, it was a great match, a very fun match. I enjoyed it immensely, and the crowd enjoyed it, and it's had a big reaction, and it's well known, like you say,
Hmm.
amongst hardcore wrestling fans, for being a great match. So I'm thankful for that, very much so.
Okay. I think Francesco had some trouble from
Lost
internet
it.
collection. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But don't worry. He's okay. He's coming.
Coming back,
Francesco.
back.
Francesco.
He's frozen.
Yeah. But I don't know if he had other question. But there is the moment for my last question, the biggest
Okay.
question of our podcast. Mr. Williams, do you have some funny stories that you could share to us?
Ooh, I don't. Oh, What would you like?
We heard a lot.
Yeah.
Rare. I'm sure you a lot, a lot of funny stories.
Okay. Um, I can tell you about a rib we did to Davey Richards one time in Japan.
Okay.
Um, so me and Brian Danielson and Bison Smith were the other foreigners on the tour, and obviously Davey Richards. Um, and one time, Davey Richards dropped the key card for his hotel room on the floor of the corridor of the hotel, and
Hmm.
Brian Danielson swiped it up. So he had access to his hotel room without knowledge. So one time when he was out, we went in his room and we cleared out all of the furniture, all of his
Hmm.
clothes, and we put them in the bathroom of the hotel room and shut the door. So the hotel room was empty, totally empty. Um, and then what happened is Davey Richards rang up Brian and said, "I think someone's been in my room," and we were like, "Yeah, no shit, someone's been in your room and cleared it out." And he really didn't know what happened. He didn't know where all the stuff had gone until he tried to go to the bathroom, and there it all was in the bathroom, piled up.
Okay.
And that was kind of, the example of kind of a good-natured rib, like things that you do on the road to stop the boredom setting in,
Hmm.
like that. And he took it in in good grace. No one was hurt. No, nothing was damaged. I just wish I'd seen his face when he walked into the room for the first time. We could have had a camera on him. That would have been great. But
I'm back. Sorry for the
back.
inconvenient.
That's okay.
Fucking.
Don't worry, Francesco. Don't worry. Mr. Williams, I have another question that I don't know it out from my mind directly now, because I had um, some talks, some past talks with the Progress champion, Mr. Trivet, Spike Trivet,
Okay.
and we talked about the mental issues, several mental issues that a wrestler could have.
Yeah.
You wrestled a lot of years,
Mm.
and do you think that the figure, I don't know, like a counselor, it's important in every association?
Um, I don't know if promoters should provide that sort of service, but I do think,
He told us that the Progress
yeah,
in UK is given to them.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that is a good thing, and I think that as a general rule, wrestlers should seek out counselling and guidance if they're ever feeling under pressure about where their career's going, how they're being perceived. If they're getting frustrated about not being able to get anywhere, if they feel that they're not being respected by their peers or by the audience, those sort of things all get to you. You know, those sort of things all affect you. It's a weird kind of pressure because you think to yourself, I'm just going out there and I'm performing and putting my best show on. But if those thoughts about how you should be perceived are not, you know, the audience don't take you the way you want to be taken, then it gets up on you and you start second guessing yourself all the time. You always start worrying if your talent's there, whether you're good enough to perform, and that can prevent you from moving up. You know, that can prevent you from progressing in your career. So I think it's very good to have counsellors there who can talk. These guys can talk and kind of reassure them that they, you know, don't get downhearted. You know, that you've always got space to try something else. You've always got to stick with your character, and eventually the audience will warm to it, or they'll understand what you're doing. It is a very tough mental game, and especially when you reach the higher levels of professional wrestling and you work in major companies, the mental pressure and the mental stress is worse than the physical stress. In my, you know, the you know, the dealing with individuals on all levels is very, very difficult when you get to that. I experienced it myself in TNA, and it wasn't fun. It makes
no. We know.
I had someone
Miss Williams. I don't know where he's going. I think that maybe he shot his switch off his cam.
No,
I don't
probably
know,
it's John
Francesco.
Cena, and we don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
an interview full of issues, but I think we can make it work again for one last question. Actually, show must go on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Eccolo.
I hit a button on my key on my phone by mistake.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, I think if they did have someone to talk to of these people, so
Okay.
okay.
Francesco, I know you have a very last question for the interview. So
Yes, I was about to ask about the first Ring of Honor match, but actually, there's one more question that's
Okay.
even more important. So I just want to ask you that. First time you retired, dropping the Atlas Championship to Trend 7. I think it was 2018 or 2019, can't remember.
2018, yeah.
And then you came back, you went to NWA, you went to a lot of promotions, even here in Italy for Dream. My question is, how much Doug Williams still has in his tank?
Not a lot.
That's the simplest.
That's important.
It's just now. I just have to make sure that I'm, you know, take it one match at a time really and see how I feel. But I'll keep going for as long as I feel that I can perform to a certain level, which I still can currently. But maybe a year, maybe 2 years, we'll see. I'm more interested in helping the younger guys out really than having great matches or you know, or working on shows. I'd rather be there helping others with their careers now. That's really my main focus, I think.
Okay. So that's it. Thanks, Francesco.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nah, don't worry. It was always a pleasure, and thanks for Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Thanks. Pleasure to be on. Thank you.
So, as Messiah said, okay.
I would like to respect the code of honor, but I can't shake your hand right now. So let's say we just did it.
No problem.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
Peace.
Cheers.